Welcome to the second ever Motormount podcast episode. I'm your host, Kieran Barber. Today's episode I'm super stoked about. We got my good friend Dom White, super meticulous kind of guy, really detail oriented. It's a great conversation. And guys, can I just say that if you get anything at the end of this video, if you get any value, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel because there's plenty more where this came from. It really helps out the channel and I'd really appreciate it. Let's get into it. We may as well just get right into it.
I'm good to go.
Dom White.
How's it going?
Good. Good, man. Thank you so much for joining me.
Not at all.
The first question I want to ask you is, what good has come from 2020? I know it's been a tough year for a lot of people. And I also know that for other people, it's been actually a good year, like better than 2019. So what I want to know is has there been anything good that's come from 2020 and the situation that, you guys found yourself in? Yeah.
Well, 2020 has probably been my best year.
Wow.
Mainly like talking about career. So my best year as far as getting on track for a good career.
Yep.
I went to aviation, engineering school.
Yep.
To get start my Cert 4 in aeroskills mechanical.
Yep.
And really loved it.
Yep.
I feel like I have found what I wanted to do finally.
Awesome.
Which has taken so long.
Yep. Just quickly, for those who aren't familiar with aerospace mechanical, give us a quick rundown of what that entails.
So to put it really simply, I'm like a mechanic for airplanes.
Perfect. What are the differences between being a mechanic on an airplane and, say, like a vehicle mechanic?
Standards and accountability and paperwork.
Right. Okay.
So planes have been brought down in the past by stupid things like split pins being installed incorrectly and failing during flight. So even the really silly, dumb stuff like that, you got to pay attention to.
Wow.
And you have to document every part that goes on a plane, every part that goes off a plane. You got to put your name to everything. There's like accountability with everything you do in aviation. And as scary as that sounds at first, it's actually the reason why I wanted to get into it.
Yeah.
Because I love that. I love it. It makes me perform better if I am expected to perform better, basically.
Right. Wow. Man, I've got to say, like from knowing you, you're we met in high school in Cairns, Trinity Anglican School. Mm-hmm. Just on that, so just on school for a bit. So that we graduated in 2008, and it's obviously 2021 now. We're recording this.
Jesus,
we old, man.
Yeah.
I know that the school that we went to had certain expectations, unwritten, but expectations of its students. It was a school where you had to be, I'm pretty sure you had to be OP eligible. So you couldn't do subjects that, weren't eligible to get the OP. I think we're on a different like ATAR thing now or whatever, but you had to do that. So there wasn't like an option. What I'm trying to say is there wasn't many tradesmen that come out, or at least directly out of TAS.
That wasn't their idea anyway.
Yes.
That wasn't what they were trying to achieve with us.
Yes, that's a better way to put it, because there actually was a few tradesmen that come out of our grade.
Yep.
But that wasn't what they wanted. did that weigh on you at all, like throughout, I guess from grade 10, you start thinking, well, what am I going to do? Did that weigh on you at all? And did it affect your decisions sort of in grade 12 and did it form your trajectory coming out of school?
Hugely. That is like the biggest problem that I've faced in my whole life is figuring out what I want to do for my life 10 years down the track, 20 years down the track, and still be happy with it, and be successful, make a good living, enjoy what I do. Picking that, and also sounds like a kind of cliche, but trying to do something that my parents would be a bit proud of. They're so successful. They're both lawyers. Mum's a judge currently up in PNG. And although they never put a massive amount of pressure on me. Of course, they had a lot of conversations with me about what are you going to do, Dom? You got to get your ass in gear. They never put a massive amount of pressure on me, but I definitely put it on myself. And it had a lot of conversations with myself about how I can, do the right thing by them and by myself. And these days by my partner tomorrow. I want to make a good life for the pair of us. Absolutely.
It's a noble thing, man. Do you think, like thinking back to when you're in grade 12 and what was going through your mind then, has that changed, a small amount, or has it changed a drastic amount? Because obviously there's that decade between then and now. And now, you've just got this qualification and you're really dead set. I personally think it's a fantastic avenue or career for you, just based on what I know you, and I know how neat, meticulous, and process-driven and all that accountability-driven that you are. Has it changed at all?
Yeah. Like a complete about face. My attitude towards like how I want to build myself. What careers. How I want to build a career. Complete night and day. So when we met in grade 10, I literally, all I cared about was having a good relationship with friends, having fun at school, and that was pretty much it. I was obviously having conversations with my parents about getting my ass in gear, but I never took it I never felt like I took it seriously within. And it's taken up until not that long ago, maybe within the last couple of years, to be honest, where I've really, like obviously up until then, I started to feel more and more like I wanted to get serious about life and careers and all that. But in the last couple of years, honestly, I started feeling like I had to start making some decisions that were going to change the course of my life. And I did, and haven't looked back. I was always really worried about starting a career and then life becoming really serious. So like starting a career and then that's what you do for the rest of your life. That idea scared the crap out of me.
From what you know now, is that the case?
No, not at all. Because once you get on your career, you just build and build. It's not like you get a qualification or you get a degree or you start a job and then you just plateau for the rest of your life. You get your career or you get your diploma, degree, qualification, and that's the first step. And you just keep building in on that and growing and advancing your career. And as long as you still want to do all that, I feel like you'll never be in that position that I was afraid of, where you've plateaued and feel like you're just living out your years now. So I've done a complete about face about the way I think about that stuff.
I don't know how much you've looked into this, but or your knowledge base on this subject or whatever, but with males especially, it can take a lot longer for a male to mentally or emotionally mature than girls.
I believe that.
So if you had to pick an age for yourself, like, when did you start noticing that you were like you started questioning and you started going, actually, you know, I want to maybe save a bit more money, look to my career and really put some thought into it, versus, you know, high school when we were all just like...
We had a good time. Yeah.
No doubt. Like, it was not about going to uni. It wasn't about planning for the rest of your life. You know, it was about having fun. So, you know, was it a gradual thing, or did you just sort of wake up one day? Like, how did it go for you?
I woke up one day.
Okay.
It felt like that anyway. Looking back at it now, it was probably, I don't know, I reckon I would have been like 25, 26. So it's not that long ago. I'm 29 now.
Yep.
But yeah, it felt like all of a sudden, because I've been working in retail for 8 years. Mm-hmm. That's 99 months, folks.
Far out. When you put it like that. Oh.
Yeah, so I've been working in automotive parts retail for a long time. And for the most part, I was content. I earned some money. My job gave me some good perks.
Yep.
You know, I earned enough money to have fun.
Yep.
And I was happy.
Yep.
I thought that was a good mantra for life. Mm-hmm. Live to your means, and you know, as long as you can make enough money to have some fun along the way, it's all good. And then about 25, I started just, for no like real reason that I can point to, I just started feeling like that wasn't enough. I wanted to be more proud of myself. Do you know what it was? It's probably one thing I can point to, and this is a little embarrassing, but when you meet up with people that you haven't seen in a long time, like people from school, and they ask what you're doing, and I have to say, well, I'm still working in retail. That sucks.
Yep.
That that hurts. Every time you say that, you feel like, damn, I should change that.
Yeah, right.
So that was a motivator. Mm-hmm. As well as just wanting to push myself, see what I can do. You know, you start to get bored just working in retail, of course. So you want to challenge yourself, see what you can do.
When did you buy your first bike? So we're not going to move the camera or anything, but you can see there's 3 bikes here. So 2 are yours and 1 is Tamara's?
That's correct. So these 2 are mine and that one's my girlfriend Tamara's.
Yep. Do you still own your first bike?
That is my first bike.
Cool. Give us a quick rundown on that.
So I bought that about the time Tamara and I met, actually. And it's probably about 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago almost. It looked nothing like that when I bought it.
Have you got some pictures? Like pictures of when you got it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll flash it up on the screen.
Cool.
Just so they can see what it looked like then.
I should say, to people who don't like bikes, it probably will look very much the same. But to me, it's a totally different bike.
Yep.
So when you see the picture, you're probably not going to be that impressed.
So what is it? It's got Yamaha written on the...
It is a 1988 Yamaha Virago.
Yep.
A girl's bike, basically. It's a 400...
Doesn't look very girly to me, brother.
The Virago in general enjoys a bit of a girlish sort of...
Why is that? Because it's a little bit smaller than like a Harley.
It's not a Harley. That's why.
Okay.
If you don't have a Harley, it's not the real deal.
Okay. All right.
And it is a small motor. It's only 400 cc's. Despite it physically looking kind of big, it's only 400 cc's.
Man, it sounds like...
It sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good for a 400 cc motor.
So I was into cars first. And we'll get on. I'm sure we're going to get onto that later as to where my interest in cars started. Because I can tell you exactly where that happened.
Okay.
Anyway, I was into cars first. I bought a VU Commodore Ute off of our friend Matty Johns.
Yep.
He had swapped a supercharged 6 into it, the L67 from the other Commodore sedans. Really cool car. I knew freaking like nothing technical when I bought it. I bit off way more than I could chew with owning that car.
Yep.
But by the end of owning it, which I owned it for, I don't know, 6-7 years, what I knew when I bought it to what I knew when I sold it, totally huge difference.
Yep.
I met some really useful people along the way to help me with that. Luke, one of the guys I work with in retail, has taught me a huge amount about cars. And not just cars, about life as well. We became really good friends. He was my assistant manager. And we ended up becoming like best mates, going dirt bike riding on the weekends. He was constantly coming around to help me with my car, which I feel so bad about in retrospect. I used to drag him around to my house to help me fix anything. And to Luke's credit, he's got like some superpower for patience. The guy just like kept helping me. Never ever lost his cool with me. And then even sometimes when he wouldn't be there, I'd be trying to work on something myself, and it would go wrong. And I'd call him up and be like, "Luke, it's broken. I don't know. Do you know how to fix it?" And he'd just have some way of helping me get through it. So very appreciated having someone like that to show me the ropes. It was awesome. So I had the Ute, had a lot of fun with it. Did a few mods. Matty had already done a bunch of things, cammed it, basically rebuilt the motor. It was good. Made good power. Sounded good. That's when I got addicted to the sound of that blower. I stepped things up a couple notches. Ended up deciding to get rid of it because I just wasn't enjoying it as much anymore. And I thought bikes seemed like more bang for buck in terms of effort put into fun to be had.
Cool, yeah.
For me.
Good way to put it.
Because, you can jump on a 400, a 125, 1,000cc bike and you can have the time of your life. You can go ripping up a mountain range and just, be on top of the world. So I like that idea. Also liked older bikes like this because there is no room to hide on the bike. What I mean is like every aspect, like the engine has to look good. All your wiring has to be neatly tucked. There's no room to hide. Every aspect of the bike has to be attended to, mechanically and aesthetically. And I like that.
It's got a lot more holes that you can see through to the other side.
Love a bike that you can see right through. That's a prerequisite for any bike I'm going to buy.
Man, it's a beautiful looking thing, and it absolutely speaks to like your approach to, I would say, life, where you pick a section, pick an area of it, and let's take the carbs, for example. I think you did those semi-recently.
Those ones, yep.
Okay, the carbs on this. Well, let's turn to this for a minute. What's the go here?
So that one is a little bit older than the Yamaha. Actually, that's a 1981, Honda CB750. So she's 40 years old this year.
40
years old, 81.
Straight.
But before I bought it, the previous owner, so I can't take full credit for how that bike looks. I didn't make it look like that entirely. The previous owner,
we'll do the same thing with the photos. We'll flash them up and then
cool. The previous owner did a full running gear conversion. So the whole front end, the forks, the wheels, the brakes, are off a 99 Kawasaki ZX6. Same with the rear wheel and the rear suspension. And he's like chopped it. Factory, it had twin rear shocks. And he's chopped them off and done a completely custom mounted monoshock. However, that's where all the good news stopped. As far as the work he did, I got it, and I think he thought it had a buggered motor because I got it for a pretty good price, and it was running really badly. So I got it home, and that was probably like 18 months ago, and have been working on it virtually non-stop. I've been riding it. I rode it to school all last year. Between the two, I rode most of the year. But it's like one thing after another has been fixed. So like cam timing was like out, but it had skipped a tooth. Ignition timing was out. The carb needed to be rebuilt. The brakes all needed to be rebuilt. I've got a whole whiteboard behind me on the wall of things that I've fixed and things that still need to be fixed. It's just, I love it. I love working on it. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound like it's a burden. It's a labor of love. Truly. So that keeps me out of trouble, that bike.
Do you think that you're the kind of person to have ever completed a bike?
No.
are you going to get to a point? No. So you're like, it's always evolving. Like,
Yeah.
there's always something to do.
I think honestly, and people tend to, in the motorbike community, frown upon this, but I like working on them almost more than I like riding them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get myself set up in here, and this is my happy place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Turn some music on, have a drink, work on the bikes. That is just as much fun, probably, to me as ripping up a mountain range on it. And that is really fun too. I like both. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever be finished working on it. So like that one, after I built the tank and some other body pieces for it and got it running right and did the exhaust and a few other cosmetic mods, it hasn't changed drastically since then. And then I bought other bikes after that and sort of stopped working on that one as much other than maintenance. But now I'm started thinking about it again. So my girlfriend who works in signage and graphic design, I got her to do me up a rendering of, just as an example, it with black wheels.
Yep.
Because they're pretty much the only thing that lets it down. Mm-hmm. They're all covered in rust if you get up close to them.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll never be finished.
I want to take you back. You said something before that really is quite profound. I want to know what advice that you have for anyone that's listening. I'll paraphrase because I don't know exactly what you said, but it was, you come down here, it's your happy place, you turn some music on, you set yourself up, there's a plan, like you've got one thing that you want to do, like it's like a goal, and you set yourself up. So you premeditate what you need and have a plan drawn out for what you're going to do.
Literally.
You mean literally as in like...
I keep whiteboards around the house.
Yeah.
And I make lists of parts needed before doing a job and that sort of stuff. It just helps calm the mind.
What advice would you give someone who comes up to you and says, man, I really want to get into the garage and do like whatever? Yours is bikes, could be cars, it could be like timber stuff, it could be anything. What advice would you give to someone who's struggling? Maybe they've got a relation, like a partner that's not super supportive, or you know, maybe they're struggling with other stuff. What advice would you give them to get in here and make it happen?
Honestly, probably the biggest piece of specific advice, or the most useful to me, is the whiteboard thing. And this applies to other areas in my life as well, just in general. If I want something to happen in the garage or in life, I make dot points of all the aspects involved in making that happen. And when you write them down, it's like something magical happens where in your head, it seems like an endless list. But if you can see it on paper or on a whiteboard, all of a sudden it doesn't seem like, a mountain that you can't climb.
Right.
You can see exactly what you need to do.
Yep.
You do one thing and you get to cross it off the list.
Yep.
And it feels great.
Yep.
And you can see your progress as you cross things off, and that helps keep me motivated for sure.
Yep.
And it also just means you don't forget stuff.
Perfect, dude. I love it. I love that. That's, I guess I'm drawing on my own personal experience, where I'll have this dream, right? And everyone has dreams. Everyone goes, I want to be like, this is the guy I want to be. This is the car I want to have. This is the bike I want to ride. And you look at that and you go, man, how do I get from where I am now? Say you have absolutely nothing. You got no savings. You got no bike or no car. How do I get from here to there? And I think a tragic thing is a lot of guys will look at that and go, I can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a shame, because following the process you just went through, you can do it. Like,
you can, but also, even if you don't, so if you have a final goal, let's say it's I want to own a Ferrari, and currently you have nothing, like you said, you've got no money, your job sucks, whatever. if you write down all these list of things you need to do to make that happen, be it secure a better job, get a savings plan, clear a space in the garage, whatever. Even if you don't get to own the Ferrari in the end, if you cross some things off, you've done some positive things.
Absolutely.
You've now got a savings plan in effect, and you've got some space in your garage, and now you're better off than you were before.
It's so good. I just want to focus on this point for a bit. What you just said is all stuff that you have control over. It's not you're not making a list of the shit that's preventing you from getting there. You're not going, oh, I've got a bad job and I'm stupid, so I can't get a better job.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm going to sit on the couch and give up.
Yeah.
It's stuff you're writing down stuff that you personally can control, and not worrying about the stuff that you can't control, because everyone's got it, man. Everyone's got headaches and speed bumps, and there's a million reasons why you can't get something done, and there's only one reason why you can, and that is simply because you make choices.
Yeah. No one's ultimately controlling your life except for you. Sounds a bit cheesy, but you got to remind yourself. You got to remind yourself of stuff like that sometimes. It's easy to get down in the dumps and feel like you can't change anything in your life. I still do sometimes, for sure. No one ever gets past that completely, I think. But it's good to have some ways of dealing with it.
Looking at the setup you've got in this garage, very comprehensive. The most comprehensive of anyone that I know at the moment, and something that I will be calling on you to help me with, when I finally get my own space and that sort of thing. I got a specific question for you.
Shoot.
What would you say is the best purchase you've made under $100 that's in this garage? Can be a tool, can be like anything, just anything. The best purchase under $100. I'm going to cheat on this, right? So because of my job in automotive retail, I got some pretty good discounts on stuff. I also got some returned items, some damaged returned items for a pretty good price. That light just went off. That's all right. People know what we look like now.
Yeah. So, for example, that roller toolbox just there, the top, they're obviously mismatched. The top and the bottom combined, I think, cost me $100.
Wow.
Empty, but yeah.
Okay. So even if this is a follow-up question, so even if that cost full price, or maybe you get it on discount, like 20% off, 30% off, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Bunnings, maybe it's Repco, super cheap, wherever you get it from. Would that still be your pick if I remove the $100?
So I won't cheat now. I'll give you a real answer. The thing that I like the most, I don't like the most because it's such an unexciting item, but the thing that I guess is the most handy or helps, it's a good base that sets up all the other aspects of me doing a job, is a pile of cheap movers blankets.
Wow. Okay. You're going to need to go into that one, man.
So working on bikes, unless you have a platform lift, which I don't, you sit on the floor most of the time.
Right.
And if you want to stay clean and have a little sort of area where you can lay out your tools, which I do, I lay them all out.
Yep.
And your parts that you're installing and all that.
Yep.
It's nice to have a little makeshift workbench on the floor, and also use them on the actual workbenches as a little bit of padding. So if I'm going to pull the carbs off or something, so that I'm not clanging them around on a hard top workbench, I've got some padding to protect things.
Little screws and stuff if they come out, and they're not going to roll away.
They don't roll around as easy. So boring, but that that stuff, I like that. Dude,
it's not boring at all. I love hearing that. And you actually completely surprised me there. Like, that's why I wanted to ask it, because, I knew it was, I didn't know it was going to be moving blankets, but man, it just adds to that. Oh, I don't know. It just adds to that focus you have on making things right. Have you always approached things that way, or have you ever struggled with have you ever been in a situation where you thought, man, things are out of control, like I need to get some order and I don't know what I'm doing, and you just freak out?
Honestly, still every day.
Cool.
And that's why I think I am constantly so.
So what is it about laying things out, and what does it do for you?
Well, so before I talked about how when you've got something to do and you make a list in your head and it feels endless, I get that so easy at the drop of a hat, any task, and I'll start running through all the possibilities of things that can go wrong, what I need to do, and then I'll because I'm thinking about this, I've forgotten the other thing. So I still get a bit, if the house, after Christmas, right? Good example. The house gets messed up big time over Christmas.
Yep.
And now that there's piles of rubbish because, we can't fit it all in the bins.
Right.
And kitchen's not clean. This sounds so neurotic, but things like that, I'll just add to that list inside the head. And as soon as I take care of it, clean the kitchen, get rid of the rubbish, disappears from my head.
I think that more than half of the male population, and at least the guys listening to this podcast, would have that feeling, that same overwhelming feeling of you're not in control, sort of, that, and they just don't know it. I reckon heaps of people would be like that, man.
I think you're right in saying they don't know it. So I could easily imagine, I'll use the Christmas example again. I could easily imagine going through a Christmas period and having the house look like crap.
Yep.
And sort of not realizing that the house being in a shambles is the reason why you feel a bit more tense.
Yes.
And so, having the ability to look at things and pick that's might be why you feel so tense.
Yep. And
do something about it. It's a big thing. It helps get me through the days, the weeks, the months.
Awesome, man. Let's go back again. Mm-hmm. I know we were going to revisit it. What got you into cars?
You did. Yeah, no. So we met in grade 10. And I had no interest in cars. No one in my family has any interest in cars.
I think your dad has a Porsche, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I think
you could argue that's an interest in cars.
He does now, but certainly at that point back then, none.
Yeah.
I mean, Mum, when she was younger, used to like riding on the back of motorbikes, and she does like motorbikes. She still likes riding on the back of motorbikes.
Yeah.
But no one had any hands-on interest. Certainly not like you do or like your dad does, I think.
Yep.
So I didn't get it from home. And then, we met and became mates, and just hanging out with you, it sort of rubbed. I liked the fact that you had something that you were so passionate about, so keen on. And you like a new video of like the Momo Ute or something would come out, and you'd lose your mind.
Man, that was Ute.
That was the biggest. That was the biggest thing back in the day. Seeing that in someone else, it was cool, and I kind of wanted it for myself. And I don't think I made like an active decision to get into cars so that I'd feel like that. It just sort of happened organically.
Right. So how did you get on to getting this Ute?
So it wasn't it was my second car. I'd had an old Mitsubishi Lancer at first, which was a great first car. A really good feeling manual gearbox. I think you remember that. It felt nice and crisp.
It was.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Had a lot of fun basically thrashing the crap out of that car. And then thought I wanted something a bit more serious, something that made a good sound.
Yep.
Could, pin you in your seat a little bit.
Yep. And
even though the Ute was just a V6, it had a bit of punch, and it sounded really good for V6 because of the cam. I didn't pick it because it was a dream car, like that model, like the VU was my ultimate dream car, or I didn't know anything about that motor before that. Just sort of by circumstance, with Matty selling it and me looking to buy something interesting, I was like, yeah, sure.
If you went back to that day where you bought that car, or even just that period of time where you were thinking about getting something, would you have gotten that car again?
Yes. Because it was so... it probably shaped some of my tastes with bikes and stuff now, because it was a fairly unique car, like compared to a standard V6 Commodore or even an SS or whatever, because it was a L67 swapped ute, and the outside of it was completely stock, barring a Monaro bonnet. So it looked very unassuming. And then over the years of owning it, I built up the engine bay to look kind of more like a show car bay. So lots of like custom radiator shrouds and polished every bit of metal in there and painted things. And so having something that was a bit unique, I suppose, being able to put my spin on it, make the engine look nothing like it used to before, or the engine bay look nothing like it used to before. I enjoyed that.
So just with the engine bay, you said that you were making it like into a show car bay. How long did that take? Was it one day?
Nah, definitely not. And like the bikes, it never stopped. So I think...
you just pick like one little area and...
Literally, one day I decided, I was like in the garage, I think I just serviced it or something, and I was looking at it and I'm like, this car's like 10 years old now. Things are starting to look a bit tired. All the alloy and stuff is looking a bit shabby. So I just got out the polish and a rag and started... and some sandpaper actually, because a lot of it needed to be sanded to a shine first. And just started... Like I got really fun. At first I was polishing big things. And then I started polishing smaller things. Like little lines, and like replacing an old bolt with a nice brand new shiny one. So silly, but things like that, when you add them all up, it started to look... There was like a depth of detail in the bay, and I liked that.
Man, it's super rare. What you just said is super, super rare. And it's why, like, I'm sure when you ride these bikes and you go somewhere, people would just stop you and talk to you about it. People are just captivated, because people are like birds, right? Like, they like shiny shit, you know? And these are just super shiny. And, like, if you had, like, experience with that, if people stopped you and...
Yeah. The Honda, almost every time I ride, because it looks nothing like it did when it's stock. Maybe when we put up the picture of that one, you can put up a picture of a stock one to show how radically different it is.
Definitely.
Because you can't see what it is. If you're into bikes, your interest is instantly perked.
Because it doesn't look normal.
No, and it's got, you know, a far out paint color and big wheels and shiny parts all over it. I get stopped at... People call out at red lights. I get stopped at gas stations. Had bikes pull up next to me at the lights and ask me to pull over so we can have a chat. And I love that. Literally a couple of times riding to school, people pulled up next to me and asked me to pull over in a car park so we could have a look at the bike and chat. And we did talk for like 45 minutes. It's great.
Wow. That's cool. How good is that? That's community. Like, I'm all about that stuff, man. Man, on the way here, so this is in Dom's garage, north side of Brisbane. On the way here, I saw a really cool... Americans, they call them Miatas, and we call them... What do we call them?
MX-5.
Yeah, MX-5, Mazda MX-5. It was black. It was slammed. Really nice. And I just put my thumb out the window and was like, man, this is a cool car.
Yeah.
And he did like a tiny little pull, like it was turbocharged. It sounded sick. Like dude had a big long beard. I don't know. I just loved it.
I hope he watches this and then gets the biggest head from here and you say,
dude, I forget. He had a personalized plate that ended in, I can't remember. But anyway, not the point. Like, that stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
Just on the street, and just the things that you've listed there. Like, I think because it's so rare, because what you've done is rare, that people can appreciate what they're looking at. And for those that do, they understand. For those that understand the work that's gone into them, it's just like a massive amount of appreciation. And it's a credit to you, man, because these things are like out of control. And like for someone like me, I'm on the other end of the scale. I'm on the chaotic end, and you're on like the orderly end. You know, it just kind of blows my mind.
I was gonna talk about that, if I may.
Go for it. So
you've just pointed out something which is true, which is that we approach work in very different fashions. And to someone watching, they might think that I don't like the way that you do it. I don't like the way you work or what you produce. Couldn't be further from the truth. If anything, it's almost more interesting to watch someone like you build cuddles, because it's not what I'm used to, and being able to learn how you do it. And one thing that's really cool, because you're a bit more chaotic, like you said, in the way you approach any like a task, you know exactly which bits to pay attention to and which bits you can relax on a little bit. And I like picking that stuff out, seeing what you know is worth spending extra money on, or making sure it's super clean or whatever. I like point. That. Yeah. That's and plus point. The car is sick. So,
man, I like it. It's getting closer to what I want it to be. But I mean, I would agree. It's not. It's never. You know, your job's never done.
Yeah.
I've got a random question for you. What's something absurd that you love doing? I'll give you some examples just to sort of get your head in the game.
I'm going to have to.
It could be something like, you know, when you eat a sandwich, you arrange all the ingredients in the sandwich so that every bite is the same. Or, I'm pinching this off Tim Ferriss, by the way.
Yeah.
Or, like, one of my own personal favorites is laying down a landing pad with toilet paper in the dunny.
Like before you start, you mean?
Yeah. When you go to sit down, you get all comfortable. Yeah. It's like a landing pad and it stops the splashback, you know.
Yeah.
Comment if you know.
Yeah.
You know. For those that do,
I reckon a few of them do.
What's something just ridiculous? I know it's like an on-the-spot question, and, you know, if you don't have something, it's like totally cool. But
no, I mean, my life is full of little quirks like that, I think. But because it's so full, and none of them probably seem that outlandish to me anymore. Right. But I'll shout a couple out, I guess. So one thing that I do without even consciously meaning to anymore is when I'm finished in the shower, before I get out and towel myself off, I take as much water off with my hands as I can.
Wow.
So my hand is like a squeegee, and I'll run it down my arms a couple of times, my legs, and shake my hair out just so the towel doesn't get saturated. So it can do a better job of drying me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great answer, dude.
Yeah. And then like in the dishwasher, right? The cutlery, it's not a cutlery basket, it's like a cutlery tray in the dishwasher. And I like to put all of the teaspoons in one bundle and all of the tablespoons in one bundle, so that there's a method to this, so that when you empty it, you can just grab a handful of teaspoons in one go and put them in the teaspoon place.
Yep. Man.
And yeah, like I said, there's those things throughout my whole day, my whole life. What about you?
What about me? Yeah. Man, come on. Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Well, I already said one, laying down a landing pad.
Oh, yeah. How could I forget that? Anything you do with your car? Any little like rituals you have?
I get really nervous around my car. It scares me, like just starting it.
Sketchy as...
Yeah. It's scary. You come out in it in the most recent Power Cruise. There's so much going on in my head when I am driving it. It's like a concert going on in my head of just all these things. But anyway, that doesn't really answer your question. I guess.
No rituals. Not everyone has rituals.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I say she'll be right a lot. And that you might consider that a ritual, because to put it in a way that you can understand is that I consciously understand that I am going down a rabbit hole sometimes. Sometimes I get very neurotic about something that I'm going to do. I worry.
Start channeling the Dom.
Yeah. Like it comes in hard. Yeah. And I have to like shake my head and go, and what I do to combat that is say, she'll be right. So I consciously think of like the stuff that I know really matters, and I try and put the other stuff because I can't handle it. And it's actually something that I'm working on. Like I'm on the chaotic end, and I want to get closer to the orderly sort of like the midline. I guess everyone wants to be good at everything. I know what I am, and that's chaotic. But sometimes it creeps in, and I go, oh, and it's like a little bit sort of worrying. So
I get that. I do a similar thing, not with cars. So you're saying like you start noticing you feel neurotic or overly worried or concerned about something.
Yep.
And you kind of snap yourself out of it by saying she'll be right. Wake up to the situation all of a sudden. I do stuff like that quite regularly. So if I'm feeling a bit blue and I can't really figure out why, I just look at myself in the mirror and tell myself to smile or something dumb like that. And even if it's not a genuine smile, which it's not if I'm telling myself to do it, just doing something to snap yourself out of it just sort of helps.
How much do you know about that sort of stuff? Like tricking your brain into snapping out of something or whatever?
I don't know anything. Like I've not read about it.
Cool.
I just sort of do what works for me.
Let me ask a better question. When you're by yourself, you got nothing to do, you might be laying in bed or whatever. What do you watch on YouTube?
Honestly, a lot of cooking videos. I like cooking, as you know. Yeah, a lot of cooking videos. I watch a lot of Jay Leno's Garage as well.
Okay.
Jay Leno, I don't know if you've ever watched an episode of Jay Leno's Garage or if you've seen some of his car collection.
Definitely seen some of his car collection.
If I could be anybody else in the world, I'd be Jay Leno. That dude has got the perfect the perfect massive setup. He's got warehouses, multiple, full of cars and bikes, and he knows about the details of all of them. And I'm sure he researches them before episodes, but
such a variety. Hey, that's what I remember.
Yeah, he's got brand new supercars, and he's got bikes from the turn of the bloody 19th century, and he works on them all himself. He's always wearing that denim suit, and it's always a bit dirty.
Yeah,
because he's working on stuff.
Yeah,
I like that guy.
Yeah. A man who's truly found his passion in life.
Yeah.
And is just, he's, I guess part lucky, and also he's probably worked his ass off to get to where he is, and now he's just enjoying. Yeah. Is that where you want to be?
Yeah, exactly. I think I'll get the details of this wrong, but I heard on someone else's podcast, they were talking about Jay Leno, and he did the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, obviously, and he also did stand-up. And they said something like he only uses the money from, I forget which one, but let's say Tonight Show. He only uses the Tonight Show money to pay for his cars. And it's kind of cool that you could be in a situation where you're like, right, all the money I earn from stand-up is going to go to getting a house and getting all the big things in life that you need. And then anything I get from the Tonight Show is for fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, cool. Are you planning on like multiple income streams or passive income or anything like that, even with like real estate, like long term? You'd like to sort of...
It'd be really cool. I don't know anything about investing really. I've started to play around with stocks this year.
Yep.
Made a little bit of money.
Yep. Of course. I mean, COVID, like, stocks went down.
That was what prompted me to buy, because everything hit the floor.
Yep.
So I was like, why not? It's so cheap. This is as good a time as any to get involved.
Yep.
But I don't really know anything about what I'm doing. I think I just got lucky. And I don't know anything about investing in property. But obviously, I like the idea of having something in the background that's a bit of a moneymaker.
Mm-hmm.
Who wouldn't like that? If you can make money off a property investment, sweet. I just don't know anything about it. And I think because I haven't really embarked on my new career fully yet, I've just sort of started doing all the prerequisites for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be starting next week. I think once that is up and running and
yep.
I'm sort of comfortably working, I'll probably start looking at some secondary income.
Just on that with the job, you got a couple of offers, I guess, from different places.
Mm-hmm.
That was because of your marks, right? Like that was because, like, what do you think? Talk to me about that. Like,
yeah, so
your experience with study and then, getting job offers and stuff like that.
I thought, because it has been over a decade since, actually no, because I went to uni after school, but let's say it's been about a decade since I'd done any study, other than researching things in my own time.
You dropped out of uni, right?
Yes.
Cool.
I did a total of 4 or 5 years of uni in a few different degrees.
Right.
Because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do.
Yep.
Goes back to that whole turmoil about trying to find what I wanted to do. Couldn't decide. And ended up just calling it quits and taking some time to figure out what I wanted to do. So, yeah, I was really worried that after such a long gap between studying that I wouldn't be able to focus anymore. And probably because of that fear, it drove me to really try.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the subjects, the very first subject we had to do actually in the course was maths. And I never liked maths. Even in school, I could not deal with maths. Yep. So I was terrified about doing that subject. And because of that, I put in 500% effort and got a really good mark. And that kind of just carried through for the whole year of study. Got some good grades. Made some good contacts. So one of my teachers I got along really well with, and he was able to put me in contact with some really good people, which landed me in a good position to, as you say, get a couple of job offers, both of which I would have been thrilled to take. And I was very lucky to be in a position where I could choose.
It's awesome, man. It's such a good story, and I'm so excited for you. You've found something that fits your personality, and it's just a complete addition to your life. Like I don't know.
It came out of the blue too. So I'd never thought about it before. It sort of seemed like kind of one of those things you said before, where I never thought it would be possible that I could go and work on something like an aircraft. It just seemed like something beyond my reach. Yep. It's too hectic. You need to be too qualified. You need to be a genius to do it. And then in this period where I was looking to advance my career, my standing in life, I had my girlfriend Tamara, who helped me enormously mentally throughout that, and then also helped me one day by sending me a link to a job advert for an apprenticeship with Virgin. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I'd never considered it before, but reading the ad, I was like, holy crap, this is perfect. It's mechanical. One of the things I was always afraid about with a job, people always say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Mm-hmm. I kind of have a different take, which is if you do what you love, it might turn into a job. So I didn't want to work on motorbikes for a living because I might get sick of working on motorbikes. I wanted to keep that. So aircraft maintenance was perfect. It was mint because I was working in a mechanical environment, but not on bikes. So I could still have fun working on bikes and cars and stuff in my spare time. And yeah, reading that ad, it turns out I had to do this course before applying for any of those jobs. But the space between her sending me the ad and getting the ball rolling on study and chasing the career was very short. It was like a light bulb moment when she sent it to me.
Love it, man. That's awesome. It serves as inspiration to the people watching. I mean, I'm sure you would agree. Like you and I, we've had a pretty good run. We've been, lucky. We've been set up and whatever. And I just know that people listening need to hear what you've got to say about that, because everyone has these struggles. There's very, very few people who nail it straight out of school. Like, oh man. I mean, I know like maybe 1 or 2 people who've done that.
Yeah.
It's rare, and it can really be like a life ruiner, or at least, a huge speed bump in your life if you can't sort it out. And just, hearing people like yourself talk about it.
It sucks because time doesn't stop. You keep getting older, and those thoughts about that pressure you feel about getting something happening doesn't stop. Just piles on.
Yep.
But I had to keep reminding myself. So like I used my dad as a bit of an inspiration on not freaking out about finding a job. So as I mentioned at the start of this, he's a lawyer. He's just recently retired, but he was a maritime lawyer and he owned his own law firm up in Cairns. He didn't even consider getting into law, I think, until he was 30 years old. And ended up being at the top of his game in that industry.
Definitely.
So that was a good sort of reality check about there's no actual timer looming over your head.
Life's not over when you turn 30.
Yeah. I'd rather, like, I chose quality over, I chose picking the right career over snapping into one because it felt like I needed to.
Yeah.
I almost did that though.
Yep.
When I was in retail, I tried to chase up some head office jobs.
Yep.
Because I was like,
you want to progress.
I want to get a career going. I've already got my foot in the door with this company. Maybe that's the way to do it.
Yep.
I was very lucky it didn't unfold because I don't think I would have been happy.
Awesome, man. Dom, I can't thank you enough, man. We're going to wrap it up here. I'm conscious of the time.
It flies by.
It does.
Wow.
Thank you so much. It's been a fantastic conversation. Like, it's better than I even dreamed of. It's, it's so much value. Like that's what I want to get from this podcast. I think it's so important. There's so much value to be had from everyone that, you're good at something and someone that's listening might not be, but they're good at something else and we can all help each other and stuff. Kind of sounds like a fairy tale, but
no, I was planning on saying something about that, which is that, some people talk about having heroes, one person that they idolize, which is great. But I think it's much more beneficial for people to just try and see something positive in everyone or in lots of people. Yeah. And if you can see a positive attribute in someone else and think that you can somehow apply that to your own situation in your own life, you'll start getting ahead pretty quickly.
Love it, dude. Let's wrap it up, guys. Cool, please like and subscribe to the channel if if anything at all interests you about the conversation that we've just had. It's only the second conversation that we've had on the podcast, and we've got. I plan on never stopping in my entire life. I'm going to keep interviewing people and keep probing for those little gems. Yeah. So if that at all interests you, click the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel, because I am in this for the long haul and I'm so excited about it. And I'm really obviously passionate about getting into the nitty gritty. Dom, thanks so much, man.
My pleasure.
Awesome.